Alright guys, so as you can see on the table today, I have the first all-in-one mixer turntable, portable, made by Vestax, of course the one and only QFO. If you guys know your turntable history, you guys know about the QFO. This was designed by, of course, DJ Qbert, Thud Rumble, those guys. It was put out by, of course, Vestax. You know, we all miss Vestax. Hope to see them come back sometime soon. But these are super rare, and it's super rare to find them in this good of a condition. And I'm happy to say that I was able to find one, although it is pretty dusty, so it's definitely going to need to be cleaned. The faders are very slow, so you guys might not know there was a few different versions of the QFO. You know, the first couple prototypes that looks similar to this, and then this is the finished run. I do believe they only made a few hundred models of this version, and then they made a black version, which was the QFO LE, which looked fairly similar, although it didn't have this tone arm here. So you could actually use this little spring here, and this would lock that tone arm in place. So, you know, you could lock it, boom, and then that thing would just stay. So you could actually scratch with this thing like standing up or in your lap or whatever. The LE lacked the EQs, so it didn't have the high, the mids, and the lows. It just had, I believe, like the master level and the pitch mode and things of that nature. What made this portable so unique was the actual pitch. So it was a slider, so you were able to almost play this thing like an instrument. And yeah, so let's turn it on. So you can see that this platter spinning, everything's good, the motor's fine. But as you can see, the more I go up, the faster it gets. The more I go down, the slower it gets. Then I can go to the other side here, and it'll go from slow to fast. So you have your 3345 right here. You have your reverse here. Quartz lock is here. Phono line switches on each side here, and of course, like I said, you got your trim here, your highs, lows here. You could even switch up the pitch mode, so if you wanted it to just be on one side, on the right side or left side, you could do that and disable the slide pitch on one side, or you can have it right in the middle so each side is active. Monitor level, you could have program 1, program 2, or in the middle for master mute here. Let's see, underneath on the bottom there's actually hamster switches, so you could actually switch it up. So this was kind of like a hybrid Vestax turntable, so it was like the guts of a PDX 2000 and the guts of a Vestax 05 Pro. So they kind of just combined them together and made one of the first portable turntables. So like I said, this one's got some grime on it. It's pretty dirty. I mean, look at that, you know. So I'm gonna have to do some deep cleaning on it. Open these up here, take the faders out, and clean the faders. They all have the PCV faders in here, which is awesome because I love the PCV faders as opposed to the Alps faders. So yeah, I'm gonna get into cleaning it, and this is gonna be fun. Alright, so the first thing I'm gonna do is just kind of give it a quick little wipe down to get all this dirt off of here. Like I said, it's pretty caked on, so I'm just gonna wipe it down with like a damp rag. This QFO was pretty much just sitting in the QFO case. It was just collecting dust. I don't even think the guy that owned it really even messed with it. I think he was just a collector. So yeah, we're definitely very, very lucky to find this. Like even the plate, it's not very bad. You know, there's some very minimal wear, which is very hard to find. Pop these bad boys out here. Alright, now that we got the fader out, all we need to do is slide this off. You know, this is pretty standard for all the old Vestax mixers. That just pops right out, and now we have the actual PCV fader. You can see all of that dust and dirt that's inside there. We need to clean all that up, and this is pretty slow, so I'm going to clean the bars and go from there. So as you can see, these little clips right here on the side, these little clips will open up, and then this will kind of open up. It'll spread open here. So usually what I would do is I would take a pair of snips here, and then I would just clip this little piece right here down at the bottom. We don't really need that on there anyway. It's just there to keep this from falling off. But anyway, like I said, it doesn't really matter because we don't need that. So we're just gonna kind of move that, boom, and then this little plate comes off. And then if we look inside here, this is the PCV fader. This metal plate is actually the lighter plate. They did have the original plates for these. It was one solid metal plate, which actually gave it a little more weight to it. So it kind of bounced a little bit better. Some people didn't like that extra weight. Back in the day when I was just all Vestax, I loved it. It just, to me, it just felt like it had a little more bounce back off the sides. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to clean all of this up. So if you've seen my 07 Pro maintenance video, which is here on my channel, you'll see how I actually cleaned all of the faders, the PCV faders in my 07 Pro, same exact faders in this QFO. The best way to clean these is with soap, some dish soap, water, toothbrush, and you know, you can get all that grease and dirt and gunk and whatever else that's inside there out of there. So I still clean my rain mixers, my Pioneer mixers, all the faders. I still clean them the exact same way with some soap, water, toothbrush, and you know, get all the gunk and stuff out of there. And then, like I said, to me this is just the best way. And like I said, I typically would, I could have running water going, but since I don't have that, I'm just gonna have to make do with this. So I'm gonna clean this all off here. Now that it's clean, got some clean water, I can just clean all of this off. And like I said, the water's not gonna hurt it. The main thing is you just want to make sure that you let the fader dry, you know, as best you can. As you can see, it is a lot cleaner now. You could even remove these two little screws and take this this little stem off of the slider if you really wanted to, but I don't think that's going to be super necessary right now. Okay, there we go. So that already feels quite a bit better. Try to get it here a little more and here a little more. And yes, you could also use rubbing alcohol. Some people would probably prefer using rubbing alcohol over this method, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, for me, it just seemed like with the dish soap, it actually cuts through the grease and all the buildup that's on these bars, you know, a little better. So now that we got that cleaned up, we just have to let it dry. You could use a paper towel, you could use a rag. Typically what I would do is I would actually put it next to a fan, a box fan, and then that would actually allow it to dry up, you know, nice and clean, and you don't have to worry about any extra water or anything like that in there. So that's a little bit better. But now I'm going to put it in front of the fan and let it dry up. That. Pull this plug. And then clean it the same exact way you would clean the fader, crossfader, on both sides. That's pretty much it for cleaning, and then we'll put them all back in. Alright guys, so now that we got this cleaned up, we're just going to put a little bit of lube on the bars and a little bit on the board here, and that'll just help it get a little smoother, you know, as we're scratching with it. So there's a bunch of different lubricants that you can use, but whatever your favorite one is, you can use it. You definitely don't want to use anything like WD-40 or anything like that, you know.
So what we're going to do is just going to put a little bit on the bar here, the top bar, right here, move it over, put a little bit on this side, some in the middle, and some on the bottom there, just like that, and then work it in. And then what I like to do is put like 3 little tiny drops on the board here, so one here, and then one here, just like that, and then work the fader. And the more you use it, the better it will get. And boom, nice and smooth. And that's what we like. And we're going to do the same thing with the volume faders. Get them going the same way, and then we'll get these put back together.
Alright guys, so after playing around on this and checking everything, I noticed that out of the master out, my right channel is playing a lot lower than my left channel. I've already done a few things to make sure that it wasn't the needle or a connection inside the tone arm here, but I'll give you an example here. So right now it's plugged in to, you can see it here in the back, to the red plug, which is your right channel, and when I hit play, you can hear how low that is. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this red plug and plug it into the left channel, and you'll hear the immediate difference. So I'm going to have to open up the QFO and check the connections on the inside. Sometimes with these Vestax mixers, the solder joints, they can get old and the solder can actually crack. It's happened to me years ago when I had a 05 Pro. The sound quality on it was just really bad. So what I ended up doing was opening up that 05 Pro and just re-wetting the solder, and as soon as I did that, the sound quality was better. There was no more hum or anything like that. So I think I'm gonna have to do that with this. Alright, so first off we need to remove all of the removable parts. So I'm gonna take off the record and the slip mat. I'm going to take these two screws out because we got to remove the platter here. And with everything, make sure that you keep a track of all of the screws. Make sure that you don't mix them up. You know what screw goes where, so you're not stripping anything out or putting the wrong screws in the wrong place. So now all we got to do is just kind of lift this platter. And these Vestax platters were always kind of a trick to get off. Usually you can just do that, take a rubber screwdriver, hit the spindle, and then it loosens this up and then it comes right up. So we can take the platter and move it out of the way. Now what we're going to do is take the counterweight off, and then we're going to remove the head shell here as well. Get that off of there. Move those to the side. Okay. Shouldn't have to take the faders out, but we'll see. Get a wire, or you can get a shoestring and kind of wrap it underneath this like this, and see how it's under, and then you could actually kind of tug from the bottom, and a lot of the times it'll just pop right up. So that's a pretty cool little trick. So this definitely makes it a lot lighter. So we're going to take the 4 feet off here. These will just unscrew just like any other turntable. The interesting thing about the QFO is that it actually had even little bumpers here on the bottom, so if you didn't want to use the feet, which I don't know why you wouldn't want to, it had these little bumper feet here so that it wouldn't slide. Looks like one is missing. Here on the bottom, these are all your switches to change up the hamster on the crossfader or the direction of the volumes. So, alright, let's see what we got here. Gotta be super careful with this thing. So yeah, there's a bunch of screws on the bottom of one of these. I'm gonna go from the outside to the inside. So these screws here, all of the outside screws, those are the ones I'm gonna remove first. Gotta be very, very, very careful with this thing. Like I said, what I'm going to try to do is just look at all of the connections and see if any of the solder looks bad, or if any of the components on the inside look worn out, or anything like that. The other thing that I'm going to be doing is I'm actually going to be checking the buttons for the start-stop buttons. They are a little sticky, so they're actually getting stuck down, and I'll show you that before I finish opening this up. So here's the start-stop button. Okay, now watch when I push it. See how it stays stuck down? So I'm going to have to clean those buttons out. So the next ones I'm going to remove are going to be the screws for where the feet are. These ones are a little different looking because these ones actually have little washers around. So what I'll do with these ones is I will put these ones by the actual feet. All of the screws are out, so we should be able to open this guy up. Alright guys, so when you're taking this thing apart, it can be kind of tricky because even once you take all the screws out the bottom, you see these little clips right here. There are some little notches in the bottom here that will clip onto or clip into that, and I'll show you that right now. See right there? So there's a little clip right there that latches directly into these clips here. So you got to be careful when you're trying to pull those out. Alright, so let's take a look and see what the heck is going on with these RCAs here. I don't see anything really happening with these. What? Maybe I'll hit all of this again with the soldering iron. And let's see here. Wires here for the tone arm. I'm going to need to put this on some type of a pillow or something so I can keep this flipped over. Alright, so after checking continuity, the problem might have just been with the head shell. The configuration of the wires was opposite of what the configuration of the tone arm wires were on the board, so that definitely could have had played a factor. But what I did was I actually checked all these connections down in here, all of these connections, and then I re-wet all of these connections here with the soldering iron. So, and here as well. I re-wet all of those connections as well, make sure all the wires coming off of the tone arm were nice and soldered with a good connection. They all look like they're good, so I'm gonna put this guy back together and we'll test the input. Also with these buttons, you guys got to put a little bit of lubrication on there. So as you can see with the start stop button, there's actually a little E-clip holding that down, but see how it's getting stuck? So I think it's just getting stuck on the plastic inside here. So first you have to remove these screws here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we need a flathead screwdriver to remove this here. It's kind of notched out here, so you can remove that. So it will spin. It's kind of a long little set screw here. That comes right out. Okay, put that to the side. Now these out. Okay. Now next you're going to see this little E-clip here, and we have to remove that E-clip. So if you have a little pick tool like this is the easiest way to get that E-clip off of there. There's two little gaps right here. You're just going to put that pick tool like that, and then just kind of push it out. And just be careful so it doesn't go flying, because these things do have, they use pressure to stay locked in place. There we go, like that. And that'll come right off. Remove this little rubber washer, and then you'll be able to pick this up completely. And then that's the underboard there. Okay, so what we need to do is take the button out here. This is the start stop button. You're going to see this little spring here. this is like a little guide rail here, and then this little button, our little hand here, our finger here, is what pushes the button itself, the start-stop button, on the PCB board to tell the motor to start and stop. So what we're going to do is we're actually just going to take a little bit of lubrication and put it right here on this little post, and that's what's happening, is that it's actually rubbing against the plastic here and it's just getting stuck. So I'm going to put a little bit of lube here on this bar, some right here on this little guide bar here, and then maybe a little bit on here, but actually none here, but on here and here definitely. So I'm going to do that real quick. Don't need to put a lot. I'll show you this. Okay, so I'm just going to put a little bit right here, and then just a tab right there. That's it. Boom. Done. Put the spring back in right there, and then we're going to put the button back in the right way, so it's going to be with the long arm to the outside of the QFO. It's going to slide right in just like this, right in place. Kind of push in and out a little bit, get that lubrication in there. There you go. And that'll be the end of that. What am I stuck on? Okay. Okay. So now we can put this all back together. Now it's not going to get stuck. Stay just like the way it should. So we can put all of these screws back now. And make sure, you know, when you're putting these in, you don't force them in. It should go nice and smooth. Put this under here so that button doesn't go nowhere. Now screw this back in. And then put these screws back. Nice. Okay. So now what we need to do is put the little rubber washer back on. So we can put our finger back through here like this. So let's put this back on, kind of over the top like that, and then all we have to do is get our little E-clip here, this little guy. Okay, there's a flat side and then there's a little rounded side. You want that rounded side facing up, so you'll see it and feel it when you open this up. There's a little tiny indention here, or where it's kind of riveted, and that's where that E-clip is going to go. And then you'll just slide it right in there, and then get your needle nose pliers and pop, and it's good. So this right here we need to close up. This is where all of your contacts are your wires for your tonearm. So we need to just close this up again. So there's some adhesive holding this together, and then you need to get the soldering iron and connect the solder joint together again right here. A little solder here. everything on the board looks fine. Nothing's loose. We tighten down these 4 screws that hold the motor in place. Nothing's loose there. So looks like everything's good to go. We're gonna put this guy back together, and then we'll test the output on the master out for the right side. Alright, let's get this back together here. So it should just fit right over the top like this. Make sure everything's in the right spot, like your power switch here. Make sure everything's in line. And it should all go right back into place. I do have this QFO sitting on a pillow, and I do have it spaced here so that there's no pressure on that tone arm. We definitely don't want to bend it or break it or do anything like that. So let's get these screws back in. This over. So when you put the platter back on, you're going to line up these screw holes with the screw holes on the platter. Make sure that you line those up right. Stop buttons. No longer are they getting stuck. So that's good. Good. Okay. So let's get the faders back in there. So got it all back together, all the screws, everything. So let's try it out. Gonna grab a wire here. We're gonna plug it into the it was the right plug on the back for the right channel, and we'll see if it's any louder now. Go. Oops, let's turn it on. Okay. As you can hear, the audio did get louder. Ultimately, I do believe that a lot of it has to do with this head shell and the wires on this head shell. They are in pretty bad shape. What I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to replace all of the wires on the head shell as well, because they're pretty old. They look a little oxidized, and that could be contributing to the issue as well. So for now, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and yeah, thanks for joining me.